Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I, Deepti Chaudhary. I'm the host and the moderator for the session today. I'll be introducing our guest for the webinar today. We'll be talking about the topic redefining rare from diagnosis to dignity. We have our speaker today, Dr. Alma Chopra. She is a motivational speaker and life coach and awareness activist with a degrees in psychology, Spanish, and English from Case Western Reserve University and an honorary PhD in international philanthropy and psychology. She empowers individuals with a growth mindset through counseling and coaching. Alma's dynamic high energy talk uses accelerated learning techniques to ensure lasting transformation. Her audience ranges from students to corporate professionals to government leaders. As an activist, Alma promotes inclusivity and diversity education, hosting events that raises awareness and foster positive changes. Through her work, she continues to inspire individuals to reach their full potential. We welcome Dr. Alma for today's webinar, where we'll be discussing from redefining to rare, from diagnosis to dignity. Before I hand over to Dr. Alma, I request all the participants to please put your question and answers in the chat box. We'll be taking it after the session is done. Over to you, Dr. Alma.
Thank you for that introduction, Ms. Dipti, and I want to take a moment to give a huge shout out to ORDI for building a space where science can meet the soul. So, before I begin, I want to ask this question to the audience. I want you all to take a minute and think about what the word rare means to you. Now, what comes to your mind? Usually people think of gemstones, people think of once in a lifetime moments, or maybe something that's usual, unusual, or distant, or that isn't really frequent. Now, I want to tell you that for millions of people actually, people like me, rare is not a distant reality. It's not something unusual. It's something daily, something that we see and deal with every day. So it's not a headline for us. For us, it's our heartbeat. Paul, can we go to the next slide?
Done, ma'am.
No, next slide. The blue one. Okay, from diagnosis to discovery. So when people receive a diagnosis of a rare condition, what do you think what emotion do you think first pops into them? It's fear, right? Fear of being different, fear of what's gonna happen, fear of what tomorrow's gonna look like. So let's step back. मैं 10 साल की थी जब मेरे को खुद का डायग्नोसिस मिला और मेरा डायग्नोसिस है अटैक्सिया which is of course a rare condition. एक दिन मैं खेलती थी प्लेग्राउंड में बच्चे के साथ and the very next day मैं सारे I was surrounded by medical words. तो सारे डॉक्टर मेरे को ने लंबे लंबे वर्ड ढूंढ के मेरे को confuse कर दिया. So while doctors explained my condition and people were sympathetic and did support me, मेरे को सबसे ज़्यादा क्या ज़रूरत था? The one thing that I needed most was someone to understand what I was going through. उस दिनों में, those days could have been the end of my confidence, but they weren't. Instead, ये दिनों जो थे, मेरे एक classroom बन गया. A classroom of what? A classroom of courage. और मैंने क्या सीखा इन दिनों में, इस classroom में? मैंने सीखा resilience. I learned that resilience is not something people are born with. Resilience is built. And I learned, जैसे मैंने अभी आपको बताया था, the community and that support is the number one therapy. And most of all, मैंने ये सीखा कि एक diagnosis के पीछे there's a strength. A diagnosis hides our direction. A new way to define strength. So, ठीक है, मेरे को diagnosis मिला, उससे मैं कमजोर हो सकती थी, पूरे उसके पीछे मैंने मेरे को एक ताकत मिला है. Paul, can we go to the next slide? Next slide is redefining rare. Tell me when you have it.
Done.
Okay, thanks. तो जब हम rare सुनते हैं, हम क्या सोचते हैं? Okay, 1 in 10,000 or less than 200,000. A community जिसमें 1 लाख लोग हैं. We think about stats basically, है ना, numbers. But आज मैं आपको बोलती हूँ, rare is not a number. Rare is a narrative. ठीक है, मेरे को एक rare condition है. आप बोलते हो मेरे जैसे लोग 10,000 है दुनिया में, है ना? But that downplays our story. मैं सिर्फ एक नंबर नहीं हूँ, मेरा पूरा कहानी है. मैं कैसे टूटी, मैं कैसे जुड़ी अपने आप को, मैं कैसे खड़ी हो गई, मैंने कैसे अपने आप को संभाला, मैंने कैसे सीखा, मैं थेरेपी कैसे करती हूँ. So when we say rare, मैं आपको एक I'll ask you a question. Stop thinking of less than when you think of rare. Start thinking limitless. When you think of rare, gemstones are rare, right? Limitless courage, limitless empathy, and our extraordinary willpower. Think of these things. Don't just think of rare as a statistic. Let's move the lens of pity to the lens of possibility. Let's move from looking at people from the lens of pity to the lens of possibility. So how do we do that? हम अपना lens change कैसे करते? सिर्फ there's only one way, and that's our mindset. So Paul, can we go to the next slide? The role of the mindset.
Done.
Okay, so मैं आपको एक secret बताती हूँ. If you are a person here with a rare disease, or if you are a person here caring for a person with a rare disease, मैं आपको आज पूछूंगी, बड़ा ध्यान से ये सुनना. There's one secret, and that secret is that your mindset is your medicine. So this medicine, it doesn't come in a bottle, but this medicine can change everything. It can change how you heal, it can change how you connect, and it can change how you live. तो जो लोग मेरे जैसे हैं, what is the role of the mindset? The role of the mindset means choosing hope even when there's uncertainty. तो मैं आपको एक कहानी सुनाती हूँ. There was a girl who was diagnosed with a disease, and all the doctors said, सारे डॉक्टर ने उसको बोला, उसको सारे चीज जो उसको करना, बैठ जो चल नहीं सकती, तो जो करना है उसको सिखाओ, बैठ के कैसे करना है. 18 तक वो व्हील चेयर मिलेगी और वो चल नहीं पाएगी. पर आज 20 साल बाद में वो इंडिया की सबसे पहले डिफरेंटली एबल्ड लाइफ कोच है. वो NGO चलाती है. उसके डिग्रीज एक नहीं है, दो नहीं है, तीन नहीं है, चार नहीं है, पर 5 डिग्री है. और आज भी वो चलती है. ठीक है, सहारा से चलती है, पर चल सकती है. वो सारा कुछ कैसे हुआ? वो सारा कुछ ऐसे हुआ क्योंकि उसके माइंडसेट में था. उसे हार नहीं माना. उसने अपने आप को बोला मैं अपने डायग्नोसिस नहीं हूँ. ये कहानी मेरी है. मैं अटैक्सिया नहीं हूँ, पर अटैक्सिया ने मेरे को डायरेक्शन दिया. हर सुबह हर जने को 2 चॉइसेस है. आप 2 चीज कर सकते हो. आप ये कर सकते हो, है मेरे पास ये नहीं है, वो नहीं है, कैसे होता अगर होता मेरे पास. आप इसी सोच में डूब सकते हो. या आप ये भी सोच सकते, अगर मैं मेहनत करूंगी मैं कहाँ पहुंच जा सकती हूँ. तो you have 2 choices: to focus on what's missing or to focus on what's possible. And that shapes your mindset, and that shapes what you will be able to succeed at. और जब भी आप चुनते हो to choose what is possible, you heal a little more. जब आप अपने आप को बोलते हो शायद मैं कर पाऊंगी, मैं थोड़ा सा और हिम्मत करूंगी, you change yourself, you give yourself an opportunity. तो जैसे मैं लाइफ कोच पे भी हूँ, एंड मैंने लोगों को देखा सिर्फ ये चीज चेंज करने के लिए. ये माइंडसेट जब चेंज करते हो, people can form their perspective to saying why me, मेरे को ऐसे क्यों हुआ, to अब क्या करना है, अब मैं ये पा चुकी हूँ, और क्या हासिल करना है. This is where power lives. Paul, can we go to the next slide? Building a dignified future. Okay. Let me know when you have the slide up. Yes? Paul, your screen is not showing.
Now it's visible, ma'am. You can continue.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so building a dignified future. Dignity is not a favor, it's a fundamental right. Every person in society deserves to be respected, deserves to be represented, and deserves to have resources. Resources to learn, to work, and to live fully. So what does that mean? It means inclusive education, accessible healthcare, adaptive technologies, and equal opportunities. Let's take a moment, let's pause. I want to know from the audience, do we have equal opportunities right now in our society? And give me an example of inequality. So I will give you an example of inequality. Recently, there has been a decision, a policy to put taxes on hearing aids, walking aids, basically things that people with conditions need to live. How is this equality? It's not equality, right? It's a certain kind of discrimination, right? But फिर भी मैं आपको बोलती हूँ, dignity, it doesn't start with policy, it starts with perspective. फिर से बोलती हूँ, dignity, it doesn't start with policy, it starts with perspective. So there are many policies regarding rare diseases or persons with disabilities that have been lapsed, right? Like maybe a year ago, everything must be digitally accessible. It's still not. 2 years ago, all of India's hotels were supposed to be accommodating to people in wheelchairs or differently abled individuals. It's not, है ना? तो ये policy है. But then again, our dignity doesn't come with policy. It doesn't come with laws for us. It comes with perspective. It comes when people start seeing people with different abilities, stop seeing them as different and start seeing them as human. So that means each one of us has the ability to create dignity. How? With one simple action. First, you listen, you learn, and then you uplift people, right? Just looking at people and discriminating against them or having a prejudice, that limits dignity. When you listen, you learn, and then you try to help them. That is humanity. Paul, can we go to the next slide? Introducing Udan. Let me know when you have it.
Done.
Okay. So I want to introduce something close to my heart, Udan. Udan is an initiative by Alma Awakening Foundation. So Udan means flight, as everyone knows, and that's exactly what it is. This is a space that uplifts people, that allows people to basically share what they want in a safe environment. It's primarily for people with different abilities, their caregivers, and for people that just like to support one another, giving room for people to rise, to heal, and to share. Through Uran, we do awareness session, mindset discussions, and interactive activities that spark union and collaboration. Through Uran, people realize that they're not alone and that they realize that they belong somewhere. which is the number one, community and support is the number one therapy. So our goal at URAN is very simple. It's to help every individual not just survive, but to soar. If you would like to join URAN, please check the chat box for the link or simply drop your number in the chat box and we'd love to add you. Paul, I think we're on the last slide. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So, advances are being made in science, and just as we are making advancements in laboratories and in hospitals, let's do the same outside of the hospitals. Let's start researching and let's start decoding. Let's start bringing in a little more compassion and stop making those of us with rare diseases, stop making us a statistic. Let's remember that the rarest thing in the world is not the condition we live with, but the courage that we live, the courage that we have to live with it. So let's redefine rare from diagnosis to dignity, from fear to freedom, and awareness to action. So I thank you for listening to me today. And I want you to remember, together, we can help each other, not just to be more aware, but to raise each other and help each other soar and thrive. Thank you. If there are any questions, I think we can open the chat to questions.
Thank you so much, Alma, for your wonderful journey that you have shared with us, for your exceptional talk, for your inputs with the disease, and how you beautifully taking it ahead from a rare to a dignified platform. So let me just check if we have any questions for us. So, no, we don't have any questions in the chat box so far. Eventually, people are thanking and loving your presentation, though it's very important from both the perspectives. So, how was your journey? Like, from a 10-year-old child to a person who is an active, somebody who is providing this platform for such patients and working actively with them. So, would you like to share a bit on it, like how was it and how do you feel being a source of a kind of like motivation to them?
So my journey has been, of course, rare, hard, but I would say this is my journey. So what I've noticed coming into India is people don't generally voice their need for support, their need for change, but they're not willing to advocate. So I see myself as that advocate. Through my motivational talks, I try to bring empathy to compassion into society. Like I said, compassion is the number one thing people with rare diseases need. I've been working with this community through my NGO, through different initiatives, with differently abled people. I realized, yes, everyone needs jobs, we need employment, we need healthcare. And now, policies are made and policies sometimes are executed. But if you take a step back, the job compliances, the healthcare compliances, those are all just a checkbox, right? They're just a compliance. Until you understand why आप क्यों कर रहे हो, तब तक कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है, right? That's why you see almost every compliance in the Persons with Disabilities Act is not yet met because there's no understanding, there's no compassion as to why these should be check marks. What's the importance of these compliances?
Right, right. So we have a question, Alma, from Mr. Jagadish. He says that do you interact with teenagers and above the age range and bring them aware about the rare genetic disorders? Probably you have answered this, but would you like to add on to this? Like, what is like, what are the platforms you usually use to interact with the teenagers, because these they are too young and too naive to understand like what they are going through. So probably they would love to understand like how to break the bat to such babies.
So to overcome that, what I don't have any I don't directly interact them. So I am a motivational speaker. I've gone to colleges, schools, and I think at that point interception is very important because like I said, when I was diagnosed, I was a teenager myself. And at that age, you are very vulnerable, you're very susceptible. Um, you're very afraid of being different, Hannah. So through my motivational talks, through my life coaching, through group coaching, um, through there's an initiative I have through my NGO, which is called AA Uplifts. I I don't have a direct means to reach out to those teenagers, but I think it's really important for someone, maybe not myself, but someone in my position who's been there just to be a helping hand. This is why I have Udan. This is the mindset of making Udan because people, yes, they need different things. And within my group, people do share employment opportunities and different opportunities to learn or to grow. But then one thing is collaboration, to know someone is there to understand and to hear you.
Great. With that, we don't have any further questions. And thank you. I again would like to thank you, a huge thank you to like Alma for this wonderful talk, being the another side of, because probably we as a consultant or as a genetic counselor, we do see couple of patients walking in, but there are very few who would love to come and open up and set a platform too, because eventually that what are you dealing with is a milestone for somebody else to at least reach that position and understand that yes, it's all the thing called inclusion, right?
Yeah,
So we all are here for that noble cause only. So we don't have any further questions, so Sharanya, like, can we proceed with the.
Miss Deepti, I guess we have one or two more questions in the Q&A.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I
No,
could
no.
just now read. Yes. Okay. So we have a question, like, just wondering, Ms. Jagadish has again put forward this question, like, just wondering if animals play a role in accepting you as you are and give you a sense of belonging. Do they provide you a sense of comfort and dignity therapy?
sorry, can you repeat the question?
Okay, so it's that he was just asking, just wondering if animals play a role in accepting you as you are and give you a sense of belonging. Do they provide you a sense of comfort and dignity therapy?
Animals, yes. Animals play a very crucial role. So I personally have had two opportunities. I had two pets for a very short amount of time. Um, and then I also also engaged in a horseback riding, equestrian therapy. So what animals do is they accept you, like the Mr. I think Jagdish said, they accept you without any conditions. That is more than us humans are capable of doing, right? So animals
Right.
can provide a certain unconditional love and support that is very therapeutic for people with different abilities, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, uh, petting the animal, just being with the animal, grooming the animal, feeding the animal. There's a certain bonding that happens that is very therapeutic for the person even if you don't have a different ability, right? Just being with the animal, it releases tension and it releases stress.
Right. So we have another question from Mr. Manu. He says, like, what inspired you as the most during times when society had many opinions about you, and how did you maintain your attitude and resilience through it?
So that's a good question. Society always has opinions, and sometimes it's very hard to keep them at bay. But people with different abilities just have to steer their course. So what I will say is it is more difficult for people such as myself to um to kind of not listen to what people, what society, what the media is saying, right? In order to be pretty, you have to be thin. In order to be pretty, you have to be able to walk catwalk. And if you can't do that, you're automatically off the list. To, to ignore those kinds of statements, especially for people with different abilities, it's very difficult because you are automatically put off the list, which makes you what? Less than human. And so it is very difficult. And again, how do you overcome that is by having someone who's been there, someone who is willing to accept you unconditionally, maybe not unconditionally, someone who is there, who's willing to hold your hand. Um, so one thing I want to add is when I started my NGO, there's one thing, my North Star. The reason I started the NGO is because I am determined to make the word disability disappear from the dictionary. Why? Because if you look at the linguistics, and me being an English major, I'm stuck up on the prefix dis in the word disability. What does dis mean? This means less than. This means not liked. So if you tell a person, or even if you tell yourself that, you are automatically downgrading yourself. So automatically we have put a portion of society in a certain caste that says that they're less than.
That's wonderful. Like, thank you for addressing all the questions. So I have, I think there were a couple of questions like, what's your website and rest of the things, but it's been answered there by your team. So there is one, like, query. I think that's also been okay. So the patient is just asking, like, by if we can help them in while doing the genetic workups. So I think your backend team is answering for on the behalf of you. And with this, we come to the closer of our questions. And I hope I just quickly go through the Q&A if there is anything left. So probably we got some questions and we answered those. If there is anything, your website is there. You have already dropped your website. The people can reach out to you over there. And Sharanya, like we can go ahead further.
Miss Diti.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
hi. So we are done with the session and Q&A. So shall we conclude the sessions for today? And I do the final concluding words to Dr. Alma.
Yeah, Dr. Alma, do you have anything to speak more?
No, I don't have anything to speak. If, of course, again, I want to thank ORDI for giving me this platform. For anyone listening, any patients or doctors, if you do need help with your counseling, so when it comes to genetic counseling, when it comes to treating people with rare diseases, number one thing is the counseling aspect to make sure they feel supported, they feel heard. So I think in my journey, that was the one thing that I was missing. So if I could be a link in any way, in any way in anyone's journey, that would actually serve me a purpose. So I would love to be a help in anyone's journey. So please do reach out to me. I am all over social media. I do have a website, and I'd love to connect with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alma, for this impactful talk. I really do understand the value of genetic counseling when it comes to a rare disease and the countries we are living in, because we know a lot about it, but not exactly what it is, right? Because now the awareness has been like, the significant increase in the awareness is there with, a lot many conferences, seminars, platforms like ORDI is providing. Now the patient and the families and eventually the medical teams are now able to understand like there is something called rare which we have to deal with it eventually. Probably I can understand from your words that the missing of genetic counseling, the right appropriate approach would definitely be helpful to a lot. So thank you so much, Dr. Alma, and we conclude the session for today. Thank you so much, and I thank ORDI for having me as a moderator for today's session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm ending the session. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank you,
Dr.
Dr.
Alma, and thank you, Dr. Deepti, and thank
Thank
you.
you, Sharon.
Yeah.